Hello there, TNA fam. How's it going? Sorry that this episode's so late coming out, but there was some delays. There's always delays. And I know it's already late, and I haven't even published this video yet. I'm still just recording it. But still, excuse me, it is what it is. That is how it goes sometimes. But we are here to discuss, is it No Surrender, I think it is? Yes, No Surrender, the upcoming show. They really have not built anything specifically for this show yet, so there is no news at this point. Now, they are having some tapings tomorrow. Now, there have been a lot of goings on and whatnot of late, so I will talk about some of them. I know that they're on people's mind and they're not very new news, but I don't really do news. I say, hey, this thing happened. Okay, cool. What can we glean from that? Where's that going? Why, etc. All that sort of stuff. So I'm more interested in what we're doing with something or what it means or whatever. So I could tomorrow at some point, whenever the spoilers are posted, look up to see what basically went down on these episodes. I tend to not do that because I'm not one for spoilers. I know some people are very into the spoilers or whatever, that sort of stuff, because it's like, well, we just need to know so that we can plan ourselves accordingly either way. So it's just one of those things. I will say, before I say too much more about the lack of build up to these things, is that this week's episode was way better than last week's episode, and I am going to wait to see what the numbers were on this week's episode, because it was so much better. Maybe it wasn't better promoted, but it was such a better episode in general than the last episode. Maybe the main event wasn't up there as much, but just without the echo and without some of the other things going on. And I think again, maybe it's that first night sort of thing, expectations or whatever else you want to say, of well, the expectations are so high, so it's if you're a little bit short or whatever, you're a mile short more than what you think you are, kind of thing. I honestly think that perhaps some of the things that you saw on this episode, not all, obviously, but some of the things that you perhaps saw on this episode, you perhaps should have showcased more so on the last episode or the previous episode. But I don't know, it's really tough because you are building other things and other things are going on. So I understand that. So, but yeah, there's nothing announced for the next show or whatever. Of course. So yeah, I want to know from you guys if you want me to have a look through, and I believe it's 4 weeks, I believe, of tapings that they're going to do over the next over the next night or so. Maybe it's next week, actually. I'm not too sure, actually. 23rd. Yeah, no, that's tomorrow. Okay. Or today, actually, I guess, for me, but whatever. But yeah. But yeah, it's tomorrow technically, because yeah, it's a different time zone thing. But yeah, anyway, so I could look on there tomorrow, because I'm getting confused with the day, because it's the 23rd. Because it's the 23rd now, and obviously the spoilers aren't out. But yeah, I could look at those spoilers, but I don't want to look at them unless you guys really want me to. So please let me know whether we're going to have a look at those spoilers or not, just to, sort of stamp out, this is what's happening, this is the main event, this is the knockouts match, this is the X Division match, this is the tag team match, this is that, whatever, what have you. Now, I want to talk about some of the stuff that's, I guess, going on with what we just saw tonight, because what a show this was. And I don't review shows generally. The first thing I want to say is, like, re-signing Trey Miguel, even though he went to AEW for a hot minute or whatever, and there was some questions, I guess, raised about some comments that he made many, many, many years ago, I think. But yeah, like, I don't really want to comment on what he said or whatever else it is. If he learned from it and he, paid for it or whatever else it was, I think that this is, like, way more punishment than perhaps he would have got from that. I don't know. It was just comments. So again, I don't really know what those specific comments were. I'm not going to look it up. I don't really, like, being a bisexual person myself, like, maybe I care a little bit, but, like, realistically, it is in the past, and if he's tried to make amends and whatnot, then that's him, like, that's not for me to judge him or whatever else it is and all this other stuff, whatever. So I have no problem with this, like, maybe some people do, maybe some people don't, I don't know. But it's good to have Trey on the roster. And I think that them bringing him back in is a good thing, because I feel like they need him. They need more young blood. I know that Trey has been around for a while, but it still feels like he hasn't been a world champion. He hasn't really had anything major going on for a long time. He was injured for a long time. He's been one of the standouts in TNA for a long time. It's time to start thinking, okay, let's push this guy, even under those circumstances of saying, hey, he said some stuff or whatever. I don't know whether you touch that. I don't know whether there's any point in touching any of that. Like, whether you build something off of that. But I still feel like if he's coming back, you're going to do something with him. But that's good to see that he's back. I think a lot of TNA fans really like him. I think that they see him potentially, like, I would say, like, you have to start small with Trey in some ways, but, like, I kind of want them just to go the whole hog in some ways as well. Like, I want to see them give him a world title shot and let's see what friggin' happens, like, but I don't know what you're going to do there. And, like, he's won Feast or Fire, or one of the briefcases in Feast or Fires. This is one of the biggest things. Like, I want to know who gets feasted and who gets fired. And I'm sure a lot of you guys want to know too. So, yeah, I don't think that they would have brought Trey back to get fired like this. It just doesn't make any friggin' sense. Like, you know what I mean? Why would you do that? Like, why would you spend money on somebody just to fire them again? Like, what's in it for you? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah. So we know the other recipients of the briefcases. Eddie Edwards has one. Eric Young has one. And Steve Macklin has one. So the person, in my opinion, that probably, in my opinion, would be to be fired would be Eric Young. Like, it's one of those things, like, it's like, I feel like if you fire Macklin, that's really bad. I mean, it's been, like, hinted at that seemingly he might be leaving the company. So this is just a way to write him out of the company or whatever else it is, maybe. I don't know. But it'd be really bad for TNA to lose him, because he's a big big star in the company, and I think he's like part of the framework of the company at the moment. So I feel like keeping him would be a great thing. So I don't really want to see him go. I'd rather see. I think that they've done too much with, and I'll get to this in a minute. Like, I think that especially with, they've done too much with Eddie right now to be like, oh, let's fire you, you know? So that leaves Eric, you know, like, I see them rehiring Trey, and it's like, okay, let's give you this briefcase and let's do something with you. Thanks for coming back, kind of thing, or whatever. I don't know, but and then the same thing for Eddie. It's like, we've got plans for you. Here's this briefcase type thing, and it's like, especially with that angle at the end of the show and whatnot. But again, kind of, you're saying, all right, we're not like maybe, but like honestly, like again, you've got to think one of the main reasons isn't just to put Santana over, it's to help establish some of these new guys and whatever in this place. Like, this is what you're trying to do, this is why you're trying to do it, you know, this is how it's kind of going. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see here if I can see it at the bottom. So, where is it? Let's see. So, okay. I want to talk about this main event angle, and I'm like, if you guys haven't seen it, what are you doing listening to this? But okay, so I wanted to make dollars and cents of like what went down here and why it went down here and where I think things are going and all of that. And I did just say, hey, you've got to be starting to look at, like, we've got to pivot. We've really got to pivot. Like, before maybe 6 months ago, whatever it was, I feel like there was another pivot. Like, was it maybe it was, I don't know. No, they turned face after Genesis, Bound for Glory rather, not Genesis, whatever. The system turned babyface after Bound for Glory, after Moose lost the title to Leon. My brain's farting right now. But that's what they did. They basically slowly turned babyface for the most part. You know, and I think there was one sort of, like, you could have said they turned babyface before that, I think, because like at that time you had, like, at Slammiversary, it was like, okay, you have Trick Williams. Like, at a certain point, it's like, you've got your main event level heels, you've got the Hardys, your big baby faces, so they needed to be heels. Like, now you've got some other big heels kind of there to take their space, sort of thing. So it's like, okay, we don't really need you to be heels right now. You guys can be baby faces for a while, or whatever else it is. We'll run with that for a while. We'll do something else. I think this is emblematic of where they're going now. So they've made another shift of saying, okay, we're going to turn you all heel, effectively, back again, so that, again, we can get to where we're going, which is saying, okay, Eddie Edwards is one of the guys of this era, kind of. And it's like, again, I think the system, if you're going forward with the system, obviously you're not going to have JDC. He's not going to be there. He's retired. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, cool, that's great. He's retired. And it seems like Moose said in a recent message, "Hey, I'm seriously injured, and I've had some several serious injuries in the past." So it sounds like Moose might not be able to. Well, he competed tonight, which was absolutely insane, and I was absolutely like mind blown that he competed in that match and whatnot with that injury. But I was also mind blown that he continued the other match, the other night there with that seemingly injury. And again, I feel like with the with the match ending like the way it did, like I think maybe this was kind of part of the plan in some ways, that Moose would lose and then he'd be kicked out of the system. But now they're kind of doing it in another way. So it's like you've got to have some of the founding members of the system, but you can't, like, I think since Moose is injured, they're kind of like not writing him off completely, but they're putting him in that position to say, okay, go away, we'll write you off for a little while, go get healed up, come back, do your thing, whatever. But now we're going to go over here and we're going to focus on these new guys. So it seems like adding 2 members to the system, that seems really good. Like, neither one of these people like have anything yet, but like, well, Cedric really hasn't had anything. He got a fluke win seemingly against Moose there, like, as well, and like, so I think that, like, that match was before, like, probably before they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to add you to the kids, to the team, Cedric. Whatever. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But maybe it was like, I don't know. It's tough to say. But the new members are Bear Brodson and Cedric Alexander, with Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. So, and maybe Alicia, I don't know. Seems like she didn't know what was going on or whatever, at least in storyline or whatever. So, again, like, obviously Dango, he can't wrestle. He's not going to wrestle now, at least in theory. So, and I said, like you need to build more big bad people for Santana to face, even if there are guys that you go, well, are they going to actually win? Are they actually going to be the next guy or whatever? Who knows? But again, you just need more heels. Like, and again, like I've said it 5,000 times. I have to say it probably 5,000 million more, whatever it is. That, like, you can't rely on NXT. You can't rely on NXT for absolutely anything. Which is funny because, like I said, I think when Zarya came in to face Laying Lee, they were like watching the monitor in the tag team match, and guess who won that fatal 4-way tag team match? Sol Ruka and Zarya, to get the contendership for the tag titles, for the Knockouts tag titles. So again, it's like, oh, okay, great. As if you could almost predict who was going to win, because they basically showed you who was going to win in some ways. It's like, what are they doing here? Well, obviously they're going to win that contendership, even if you didn't, like, even if the spoilers weren't out there and people didn't somewhat know whatever it was. I don't know whether it was live or whatever it was. But yeah, again, like, if you had gone out there and found the spoilers of it saying, hey, these guys are going to win. Wow, what a surprise, because they were on the TNA pay-per-view, saying, hey, check out the competition or whatever. We might be challenging them. Oh, yes, we are, because we won that match. It was taped 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Like, yeah, that's where that's at. I get that. But again, like, you can't rely on NXT or WWE sending you baby faces or heels, you can't rely on them. If they send you somebody and like, this is the thing, like I say, somebody said, why can't WWE do what TNA does with some of these people? Because WWE doesn't really know what they have in their hands sometimes, I think. They don't really know what to do with people, which is, like, dumb. Put them in matches, show them off, and get them over with the crowd. TNA often gets them for, like, 1 20-minute match, maybe, or whatever. That's basically it. So it's like, oh, okay, cool, great. We've got to make that count for them, or whatever it is. Or, we get them for one show, so let's make some time for them. We really want to show them off, and we want to, showcase our own division, or whatever. So, hey, here's 20 minutes, go out and kill it, and show what you can do. So that's what TNA does. They don't overcomplicate things. They don't say, you know, we don't know what we're going to do with you. You might be here for a few days. You might be here for a few weeks. Maybe you'll do this. No, we've got you for today. That's pretty much it. Okay, cool, great. Well, we need we need somebody to have a match with Lay. So, hey, here you go. Have a match with Lay, and go out there and kill it for 20 minutes or whatever it is, and Zarya did, shout outs to my fellow Australian wrestler, there. But yeah, like, she went out there and killed it. She had a very good match there. Like, probably didn't gush enough about it, honestly. But, like, again, this is the thing. WWE overcomplicates things, and maybe they're complacent in some ways. And again, I don't blame them in some ways. They've got 1 million people on their roster, but that's the problem. Whittle down your roster. Start saying, no, we're not doing all of this. These people we're not focusing in on. We're not doing anything with them. And that's somewhat seemingly what's happening sometimes. It does feel very much like, yeah, we don't really care about these people because we just have too many people. We just have too many people, and we just have too little time to do anything with them. So it is what it is. We can't get to everybody, and I understand that, but it is really sucky to be like, oh, we have so many talented performers here, and we've spent so much money on bringing them in and doing stuff with them and training them and all of this stuff, and having them on our TV just for them to be, like, enjoying some nice catering from us, just a regular payday, where they're like, yeah, you're here, but you're not really doing anything. And it's not, like, I can get it if you're, like, you might say, oh, Zarya and Soul or whatever are new wrestlers, so you might say, oh, well, and I can say the same thing for TNA. You can say the same thing for AEW. They have people there that are just kind of like, they're filling a role, or they're in their role, or whatever it is that they're doing. So it is what it is sometimes. But again, like, when WWE says, hey, we'll loan you these people because we ain't, or whatever, or could you take these people, they need something, or we want to see some more from them, or whatever else it is, so give them a chance, or whatever else it is, and that's, like, again, why put, like, this you've got your own tag team titles over there. Why would you put, like, a fatal 4-way for our titles? Like, or whatever, you know what I mean? That's just like saying we don't want our own titles. We'd prefer to steal TNA's titles. They're more valuable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's even competing for these belts anymore. So it's like, well, why do we even have them? Like, that's what I mean. It's crazy. But yeah, it is one of those things of saying, hey, we get them maybe for one day. Okay, cool. What can we do with them in that one day, or in that one, moment that we get them? How long on this show do we have? Well, it depends what show it is. If it's a random TV episode, or if it's a pay-per-view, or what it is, specifically, but it is like, okay, cool. This, TV episode, we only have maybe 5 minutes, maybe, or whatever it is for a short segment. So, and we really need somebody to challenge Lay, and okay, you'll do. They said they want to see more from you guys anyway, so pick one of you to challenge for this belt or whatever, and we'll go with that. You won't win, but you'll get a good match, like, hopefully, you know. But yeah, like, I think that's TNA's philosophy of just roll with the punches, give what you're given type thing, or get what you're given type thing. Like, that's where I'd be at, like, very much with NXT and WWE. Like, I know so many people are dooming over whether WWE is going to buy TNA or whatever, like, or whatnot. And, like, the signs are there in some ways, obviously. But, like, until it happens, or until something is, like, more official, it's like, honestly, they realistically could buy TNA, but, like, what would it actually accomplish for them in some ways? I know a lot of people say, oh, get the tape library, or that means you get all of their superstars, or whatever else it is. I understand some of that, but, like, all their contracts or whatever, I don't really think that's true. Like, and if TNA was, like, in the boat or in the business of saying, let's sell up, or let's get bought by WWE, like, why would they continue to try to do things? Like, why would they continue to, do their own thing? Like, maybe it'll happen, but, like, it hasn't happened so far. So it's like, again, don't feel like they have to realize, again, I hate the monopoly too, but, like, we have to fight that monopoly, like, even if we're saying, okay, we're having a partnership for now, we know we can't rely on them. If, like, maybe if they bought TNA, then we might be able to kind of rely on them. But then it's like, well, what would they actually do with TNA? You know what I mean? Like, it feels very much like I don't know what they're doing with AAA. I haven't really seen a whole lot of stuff with it, but, like, it hasn't really changed anything in the last, like, it's been like a year or so thereabouts, I think. I can't even remember when they bought AAA. Like, it was a long time ago, but besides, like, having Dominic as their champion and having, like, a few moments and matches and things here and there, like, they really haven't done a whole lot. And I think one of the main reasons, like, they bought AAA was to be like, hey, we have some roots into Mexico, because, hey, we want to find the next Rey Mysterio, we want to find, new superstars from this area, and we want to expand into other markets or whatever. So that's part of why I think that they did that. Like, for them, buying TNA doesn't really open them up to any more new markets that they already don't have. So that's why they're also, like, looking to partner with promotions in Japan and in England and in Europe and things like this, and in Australia and things like that, and different places around the world, because it's like, well, maybe we'll buy one of them, or maybe they'll be our proxy over there, and we'll just have a feeder system kind of to us coming to here, like, so, again, or at least, like, more of that WWE ID, more of a clear pathway, or more of a, even if it says, oh, well, yeah, sure, but, like, even so, maybe some people will find their way to AEW or TNA or to somewhere else, New Japan or wherever else it is, because, hey, now, we have this ability to have our networks everywhere, effectively, or almost everywhere. That mean we can, you get people from wherever they are and pick them up whenever we want. And we can be scouting globally for new talent, like, and whatnot. So, like, there is obviously something within that, like, again, so it's like figuring out, like I don't think TNA would add anything. I just, like, I really don't see, like, what TNA could add in terms of, like, if WWE, besides, like, the tape library, maybe some of the contracts or whatever else it is and whatnot. I don't see that you're adding anything, because I don't think a lot of the TNA fans would follow along. Maybe if TNA was like more or less its own promotion and just being backed more by WWE, maybe, like, but just being like, we're now dictating what happens over here or whatnot, or we want our guys or our gals to be the champion. Like, that's how it's been already, kind of thing. So, and that's already kind of, yes, it has been good, but it has also been bad. Like, you know what I mean? It's been good when you've actually committed and said, okay, we're going to give you this person for 6 months, kind of, at least ish. And then off we go from there or whatever. But yeah, I don't know what you're gonna do if you're gonna say, oh, well, like, that's what I mean. Like, I think that they're already absolutely hamstrung, like, running Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then having their pay-per-views. I don't think that they can run a fourth show. I mean, they kind of do. They run Speed and they run other things and whatever else and all this other stuff or whatnot. So I can understand where you might be saying, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we do kind of run other promotions, but you're already running so many different things. There's so many different facets to this thing that it's like, by God, man, take some time out, or, say, okay, we're going to have one creative team or whatever else it is for Raw, one creative team for SmackDown, one creative team for NXT or whatever, which is kind of what you have for NXT. NXT is kind of its own thing. But yeah, everything else is like, or I don't know whether you want to do that for Speed or for X or for whatever else. I don't know, but like, the other things can just be like, yeah, we'll figure it out, like, as we go, whatever else it is. So again, I don't know, but yeah, like, I think just on some of those merits of saying, would they really want to run another promotion? I don't think that they've got the time. And maybe that's part of the point or whatever in some ways, because they might be just like, once they buy it, cool, it's shut down, you're never going to see it again, whatever. Or it's either that or saying, we own it, but they run their own promotion effectively, or they run their own show effectively. And we'll have some level of partnership, whatever, with them, or more partnership with them, but, like, realistically, we're on the outside more so looking in, rather than we really are hands-on because we've just got too many other things going on, but at least we have our hands in that talent pool more clearly, or we have our, we have more of a say in, like, the business operations or whatever, than what we did before. Maybe, like, it's 50-50, now it's more like 60-40, or 80-10 or something. I don't know, but again, that's up to them. But again, like, I think that they realize, like, that they would, like, at this point, they'd have to be like, that's a huge undertaking. Like, it's a huge undertaking, and I know they've got millions and billions of dollars and all that, but it is so much money to really get TNA rolling and really get, like, the infrastructure, the equipment and different things that they would need to kind of do their own thing as a wrestling promotion, touring and whatnot, all that stuff, and just giving them a few more superstars to say, okay, let's bolster that roster so that people are going to come to these shows or going to see these shows or going to do these things or whatever else it is. But yeah, no, but anyway, yeah, I think I don't think we're in that line. But getting back to the thing here, just to round out, I guess, because it's already going for quite a while, and I want to finish up as quickly as possible. But I said that, like, we need more heels, right? And like, I think Bear Bronson, he could be a good babyface, maybe. He could be a good babyface, but I can, like, it's written all over him. Big monster heel. That's what he is. He's a big monster heel. Book him like a big monster heel. Makes it easy, makes it simple. I honestly think, like, again, like I said, the system's heel run was way better than their face run, like, has been. So I feel like it was kind of not phoned in, but it was kind of like forced in some ways. It never felt like so supernatural for them to be baby faces. They never, like, really seemed like baby faces that much. I really think that Alicia was a great heel. Um I think, like, even though, like, a lot of people love Eddie, I think he was a good heel. Um you know, so, and at this point in his career, that's what I start looking at. Like, for him, he's going to be going out in the next few years. Like, you know, you've got to, like, you're young. Like, I said this before, where your young guys don't always have to be like baby faces, but you want a lot of young and exciting guys to be the baby faces. You know what I mean? Um, but you want the older guys to be the heels, but it's really hard because, like, there are some that people go, oh yeah, I can hate them or whatever pretty easily, or they can get heat pretty easily. And again, I think Kazarian was injured in that match. Maybe he'll be back soon. I don't think he was super injured, but, like, I think he broke his hand in the match with Bear Bronson, which was, like, absolutely crazy as well. I didn't even know this. But yeah, like, it is insane, some of the stuff that goes on, or whatever. So it's like, you know, again, saying this is his time to, have one last big time run, probably at that world title, perhaps. I said that, I want to see Moose win the tag team titles because I want to see him be, the either the Triple Crown or the Grand Slam in TNA, because that would really solidify him as a TNA guy, but maybe it won't happen, I don't know. But again, I feel like he's probably going to take some time off. So instead of just saying, oh, well, see you later, bye, go heal up or whatever, you've kind of established this story, or you probably had this story kind of established, or you had this idea established before he got injured. So you say, okay, well, let's just continue on with it. But now, like, maybe we don't see him for a few months or for a few weeks or whatever it is, or maybe in a more limited capacity or whatever else it is, just to, protect him and keep him safe, or whatever, until he is fully healed up. Or maybe again, like, I don't know how long his contract is, but until he's retiring, because again, he's probably not long for retirement in TNA, but just because of his back issues, like, that he's had. So he might have, like, a return left in him, but, or whatever. But after that, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. Maybe he can keep going. who knows, but I don't want him to continue to keep going if it's detrimental to his health or whatever, that sort of stuff. Maybe he'll just have, like, I don't know, have to be a bit more safe, taking less risky bumps or whatever else it is and things like that. I don't know, but it is what it is. But again, saying, here we're gonna like take this, well, I don't want to say young because he's like in his 30s, I think, Bear Bronson, and we're gonna elevate him, by putting him in this group. Okay, cool. But now we're gonna turn heel, and okay, now like because before, if you said, okay, well, like they're like, if they had have stayed baby faces, okay, this is where I was trying to get to. If they had have said, let's stay baby faces, what would they do? Like, you've got the Hardys in the tag team division being the biggest baby faces there. You've got some heels in there, but like, you could use some more, certainly as well. So, and same for the world title division. Like, you could really use some big time heels in that space. Like I said, like, we just need more heels overall in all areas. I said this before with the X division. It didn't feel like basically there was anyone in that division that felt like they had a story or they had a reason or they had a rhyme or anything to being like having a story with Leon or doing anything, because it already felt like you've finished this off, you're done, no more kind of thing. Like Leon, and maybe Leon's leaving soon or something or whatever else it is or whatnot. Who knows? I don't know. But again, it seems like there is interest there, definitely, and whatnot. And sometimes I don't know whether I want to be conspiratorial, but sometimes I do feel like, I don't know how many people have been affected in WWE by this visa issue. And I just want to say how close Triple H is to Trump. So I don't want to make accusations, but yeah, there's just some things that are a little bit sus there sometimes. And I understand if you're saying, oh, well, that's not a conspiracy of him going, don't let TNA in or whatever, but please let our guys in. He's just trying to work out a deal, or he's just saying, hey, we need our guys, so please don't send ICE to our events, or just please don't send ICE onto any of our guys, things like that. This is where we're at. I don't know whether that's the case. I don't know. I don't want to say things too much, but again, just it does seem very like, well, kind of thing there. And it seemed to work out pretty well for WWE, I think, in most ways, I think, honestly. But yeah, like, I do think that some of this is working out for TNA, and I do think that some people are a bit stupid, because it's like, you saying, hey, what's going on with this? Well, they've told you what's going on with this. This is nothing to do with TNA. They can't really do anything about, the visa issues or whatever that are happening. And this is again where I've had to say it 1,000 times, and I'll probably have to say it 1 billion more, whatever it is, that they probably shouldn't tour in the US right now, but they're going to continue to do that, so that's up to them. And God, I hope it works out or whatever. But I just see more problems coming in the next few months and in the next few years than solutions or whatever. I don't know, but we'll wait and see, hopefully, I think. But anyway, yeah, Cedric adding to this group again, he felt like a guy that, he's been here, now he's basically just in his position. Okay, now when you do this, you're going, okay, we're gonna give him something to work with. Maybe he'll still be in the same position, but now at least he's got, something to work with, a story, a reason, more so. You can play more into the heel dynamic. I think it will be easier for him than trying to be a baby face, because again, like, I think they have their baby faces, and Cedric, he's good and everything, but I think I don't want to say that he's old, but he is older. He's in the same age group, I think, as Mustafa Ali. And just a guy that never really has gotten anything, but again, a guy that, you have to utilize to say, okay, we need this guy to help put other guys over. So we have our young superstars that are up and coming, Trey Miguel, maybe, on that list. Bear Bronson's probably the one of the few that are in that group that feels like a younger up and comer. Maybe you could say that Cedric can feel like a young and up and comer in some ways. Not a young up and comer, but an up and comer in some ways. But I would say that Eddie and Brian are the seasoned veterans, obviously. And I would say, again, looking at Myers, like, the guy isn't probably far from retirement either. Same for Eddie. Like, same for, a few other people. Maybe Eddie's got a few more years than Myers, but, like, I don't know. It depends. Like, but yeah, I would say, like, even Bear, he doesn't have long. Like, you think he's only got maybe 5 to 10 more years at the most at his peak, So, and that's the thing, you've got to make new superstars. Even if they're heels, like, you've got to make new superstars. And I just feel like the vessel in which, like, the system vessel that you had before, it was starting to become, like, very stale, like, at a certain point. So it's like, oh, okay, let's turn them heel again. Let's give them a new fresh coat of paint. Let's get the ball rolling again, type thing. All of this stuff to get to the next point, which is saying, hey, all right, we have, again, we have to have opponents for our big babyface. And again, like, I just don't know. It's just one of those things of saying, like, yeah, like, it just makes sense, like, in some ways, because, like, JDC can't be there anymore. Maybe he'll make some random appearances here and there, but, like, he probably won't make many, and he won't, like, probably won't wrestle again. So, and like I said, Moose seems to be injured. So, and even before that injury, you were saying, okay, maybe he's lost a step or something or whatever else it is. But that's the thing, like, it's not so much that he's lost a step or whatever else it is, so much is that he's again in that space of saying he's one of the older guys, one of the guys that's been here for a while, one of the guys that's accomplished a whole lot. Maybe he can still have a couple good years or whatever else it is, depends on his back and his injuries and whatnot. So I don't, like, he could still be really good looking and whatnot, but, like, I don't want him to risk things, like, I want him to be healthy, and I think everyone wants that. So again, I don't want to see him as a broken down man who can't do anything or whatever, and, can't enjoy life and lives with pain for the rest of his life or whatever. That sort of thing. So again, I just want to see, the best for everyone. And again, like, you putting him in this position and saying, maybe he's, going to become more of a special attraction sort of thing for a while, and maybe more permanently. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, now you've got like somebody like Bear Bronson, like, and even Cedric. Cedric just like surprise beat Moose out of nowhere. That's the former world champion, like, that he just beat. I said that might be in the X division, but you could put him in the world title division too, maybe. I don't know. Again, you just need more bodies for Santana to go through sometimes. So again, even if he's a B plus player playing his B plus role on a show, again, like, he already faced Santana once, like, technically, but now you could have that again. Like, I mean, it is, again, that stuff of saying, well, we're trying to have stuff for the real quote-unquote superstars to have their time, or whatever else it is. So again, like, and again, I'd love to see more from Bear Bronson, because I think that he's got something as well. And like, again, if you're gonna do something with him, you got to do something with him quick, capitalize quick in the next like year. Have him have several big main events, like, not just one. I mean, it is kind of tough for him to have several big main events, like, against one big babyface, but like, I feel like you could still find more young baby faces for these people to kind of go through and kind of work with. So I think that the role just suits him better. I don't like you're not gonna see, like, I just don't see him being a great babyface. Like, he could be, but like, I just don't see it. Like, it's just like the way he looks and the way that he presents. And I just think the best way to kind of capitalize on guys like this is like, man, monster push. Like, that's what a lot of people didn't get. And I said, well, does he really fit the role or the position of being in this faction? Because it feels like maybe he's more of his own guy or whatever else it is. But like, sometimes I hate and I know fans hate the the basic sort of heel shenanigans or whatever else it is in some ways, but again, it's effective. Not just effective because it's like, boo, get this off my screen, but boo, you suck for cheating, in this match and whatnot. I think fans are still entertained by, the chicanery at ringside or whatever else it is in some ways, even if it is like, oh man, we've seen this for the last like 100 years or more or whatever. It's classic stuff, doesn't change really. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, like, breathing new life into that faction was well and truly needed, and it just gives more people like more, I don't know, not threats, but it gives more people a shine and a place and an ability to kind of be presented in that space, rather than being like, you're here but you don't really have a story or you don't really have a direction. You're just kind of here. And that's the thing, like I said before, you just need to pull the trigger, kind of. Like, you need to just be like, okay, let's find space for these guys. Let's find them a space to, develop, grow, showcase what they can do. Maybe they won't get there in the next 6 months or whatever else it is, but maybe we'll get to see a glimmer of what could be there, or whether they're ready, or we'll get the fans prepped for when they are ready, and we'll get a real good storyline going for them in 6 months or whatever else it is. Because again, that's what you're going to have to do. Like, if you say, okay, let's spend the next 6 months or whatever it is building up Bear Bronson, and not saying, oh, well, he's just going to get fed to the wolves, so to speak. I said, like, you need more people for Santana to go through, but you also need to say, okay, cool. One of these guys or one of these people needs to actually beat him at some point down the road, maybe at some point. And I don't know whether that's fair, but like if you save him for long enough, it could be. Like if you have him fight him on just a random pay per view, maybe even if you say hey, you have him on one of the more major pay per views soon, like Rebellion or whatever, it's like, well, maybe Mike Santana can carry that gate, so you're not too worried. But like, and maybe TNA draws the number that they draw, because it's TNA. Maybe now they're drawing a bit more and whatnot. I don't know, but again, still, you might be saying, well, we draw what we draw, and hopefully it's good. But yeah, like we just draw what we draw. Like, there's not much you could do about it, you know. And again, like I say, like you need to be your own. Like it is a tough thing to be like, okay, we need to be our own thing that is unique and is different and has a different feel than what WWE has. But we also have to be generic, somewhat generic and appealing to the mass audience. We can't just be this completely off the rails show that people go, what the freaking hell am I watching here? It has to be, accessible and whatever to the mass audience. It has to be palatable for the mass audience. It has to be palatable for families. It has to be, even if you're on that later time slot and you might have some more risque things that you might be able to do or whatever, you still need to say, okay, but we need to bring in the families, we need to bring in the casuals. Yes, we need to cater to our hardcore audience, and yes, we need to be our own unique brand, but we still need to have enough things that, people might tune in for, like that's why, again, I said it so much, and it's so true. You need the Hardys and guys like that, and Eddie Edwards, and Moose, and Eric Young, and guys like that, Brian Myers, and these other guys, Cedric Alexander, and kind of guys like that, to be like the guys that have already mostly kind of, and Mustafa Ali, guys that have mostly gotten what they can get out of this business. They're not really going to be much more in this business. Kazarian, same thing. No disrespect or anything to them, but they can't do much more anymore. Like not physically, but like just generally in terms of, well, what could you do with these guys? Like you need to think, okay, cool. How do we make people tune in to what we've got on our roster? It's not just saying we've got the Hardys, that's cool, that's great, but we need people to be like, oh yeah, like, and this is why I wish they had been able to keep the Rascals more so, but like, we'll have to figure out what we can do now. But like, again, if you had the Rascals, then at least you have that other team that it's like those young baby faces that it feels like are gonna crack that glass ceiling at some point and are gonna take the Hardys' spot, kind of thing. They're the new young superstars. They're the new Hardys. They're the new guys on the block. Maybe you need a new Agent Christian, or maybe you need a new Team 3D, or something like that, or new Beer Money, or a new, Motor City Machine Guns. You need something like that there. And again, like, you need that everywhere. You just need all these things everywhere. You need new superstars everywhere. So I'm all for them. Like, and I say, like, Bear and Cedric are both like singles guys more so, but you can obviously see both of them doing tag team stuff as well. So Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, guys, I've been rambling on way too long. This was coming out way too late as it was, and it's almost time for me to go to bed, honestly. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope you join me in again in another one.